The first test between South Africa and the British and Irish Lions in Cape Town was a tale of two halves. In the first half, the Lions never really got on the front foot, and you can tell that a lot from their kicking game, as we're watching clips of their kicking here. Very few kicks throughout the first half by the Lions were challenged in the air, and they very rarely regained any possession from this. So that's why South Africa, throughout the first half, had a majority of the ball in attacking positions. They strangled the Lions then into giving away penalties, and far too many penalties were given away unnecessarily then in defence. South Africa, on the other hand, kicked to compete and frequently won the ball back. And whenever they did, they'd often look to put that crossfield kick in from either le Roux or Pollard, putting it into the space as the open side winger had to come up, and the fullback had to cover all the way across the pitch. So he's turning the Lions defenders and putting them into difficult positions to defend. This click from Faf de Klerk is all due to the lack of pressure on him. As you can see, Ali Price isn't quite in a position to challenge him, which you should be putting pressure on one of the best scrum halves in the world. Also, South Africa's clearance kicking was significantly better. Here you can see Faf de Klerk putting a kick on his own 5, and due to the chase, he's meeting play then on the halfway line. Here we can see an attack in play from South Africa off the base of a scrum. And what they do, they use their first 3 attacking players of Hollard, de Allende and Am to fix the first 3 defenders. And with the addition of Willie le Roux, the fullback, they create a 2-on-1 then on the outside. And what actually happens is they do that, and Henshaw and Daly create a negative drift then to get out to try and cover. And as they're running across the pitch, they're also running backwards, which makes it incredibly easy for le Roux to cut inside them both. So they expose their inside shoulder. And then he knocks it on, but Hogg clears dead. When South Africa attacked throughout the entire game, if they came up against a structured defence like we have here, it would be as simple rugby as you could get. At most, 2 passes in a phase, forward carrying the ball, support players retain the ball, as long as it's in a position where if they were to get a penalty, they'd expect it to be easily kickable. Then this is the style of play you'd get. If they weren't in this sort of position in the pitch, you found themselves 20-30 metres or more further back, then they'd be looking to kick themselves into this position where they'd retain the ball from a high up and under, or they'd look to kick deeper, turn the Lions and force them into giving the ball back in an attacking position. Throughout the first half, the scrum was fairly stable. Just this one slip here where Rory Sutherland ended up on his head. Here we have the one example of the Lions' backs beating the South African blitz defence from a set position here. They're outnumbered on the blind side, and Mapimpi flies out the line to attack Biggar, but they get around that. Unfortunately, Henshaw decides to throw the ball to Pollard. Like it has been throughout the tour, the line-out was fairly solid, apart from these two wobbles from Cowan-Dickey. Here's a quick highlight reel from the first half of Man of the Match, Tojay. Here you can see on his own 5 metre line, over the ball, he's using the tackled player to hold his weight up, so it doesn't look like he's not supporting his own body weight, even though he isn't. But it's impossible to tell from the angles you're looking at. Nothing appeared to change tactically from the Lions coming into the second half, but the execution improved drastically. Here we'll focus on kicking initially. Before, kicks weren't challengeable, and the Springboks were having time on the ball after catching it. They were able to target the players they were previously looking at. They would want to have targeted Le Roux and Colby for their height, and if you can time a ball correctly, they won't get any run up to get the same height that Van der Merwe would be able to get. And in the first half, the whole backfield was covered very well by Pollard, who took a lot of the high balls. When you compare that to South Africa's second half kicking, they became a bit scrappy, and they weren't retaining all the possession from their box kicks and the up and unders they were previously getting. For distance, the Lions came out on top. This phase of play here, the Lions emulate quite heavily what the Springboks were doing. They hit an up and under, trying to retain possession, which they do. They look to attack or reset, and here they reset, and they look to kick in then behind the open side winger and in between him and the fullback. Now if we go back to the first play of the second half, you can see Ali Price's initial kick is spot on, causing huge confusion between Kwagga Smith and Willie le Roux. And from that, the Lions get into a good attacking position. Unfortunately, that maul goes down through good South African defence. They come from the back of the line out and drive through towards the touchline. And after a number of physical phases, there's the bold call made to go straight back to the corner. It proves to be the correct decision, but had this try not been scored, that would have been a ridiculed decision. You can see how the Lions set up for their mauls. They set with a very wide front. It's not an elongated long maul at the back. They've got probably 4 players across the front of that maul, and then just a second row of 3 forwards, and then just a hooker at the back controlling the ball. Now here, off this retained box kick, you can see they now get in behind play, and as soon as they do that, they can spread it wide because they know that the blitz defence the South Africans were using, they'll not be able to get in position to come up with any speed. And now when they come back across the pitch, they utilise the 2-3-3-1 forward formation. So they have 2 sets of runners and then 1 wide forward, which was Jack Conan in this case. And then they try and recreate it going back the other way. But as things slow down here, they will revert to how they've been attacking, which is just slow, one up, support players retain the ball. And here they're looking very much for a penalty, exactly like the South Africans have been doing. On this occasion they win that penalty and go within 1 point of the Springboks. Throughout the second half, the scrum and the physical dominance of the Lions was really exerted, and that really came from the introduction of Mako Vunipola. See here how he just gets under the shoulder of his opposition prop, and that just forces him to cave in and the whole spin. Here you can see that Maul set up again, a wide front row. It also is stopping many South Africans sort of latching onto the side and spinning round, which we've seen a lot recently, because they can't swim up the side anymore. So they'll hold on, and as it swings around, take any peeling players. Here we have another textbook example of how South Africa make their meters. First they'll put up a nice up and under, which they'll win back here, and recycle the ball, and then look to make territory or play to an open field. Here you can see Pollard's kick most likely would have wanted to be much further back than it was. In the phases leading up to South Africa's first try, here you can see they do as they have done all game, hoist an up and under and then play off that. They do, and this time they feel they've identified space out wide, and that's mostly due down to seeing Tom Coley retreating in the midfield there, well offside, could have been penalised for that. Then as they come back across, they make the mistake, and the defence seems to forget to actually tackle the man with the ball. It's a big part of the game, but they've forgotten it there, and they've looked at everyone else. And from that, one of the best wingers in the world, Mapimpi, gets the gas going. As well as looking to reset and play the ball back across the pitch, the South Africans from their high ball are also looking for any gap it creates, any space around the ball where it lands. And they're first to react in this occasion, and then they're away. In real time I thought he was onside, and even after looking at this angle I thought he was onside, but rightly so on the reverse angle, Willie le Roux is offside. Having analysed the play, here I saw some of the key moments within the game. So this is Dan Biggar putting the Lions into the lead. It took them an hour, so 20 minutes into that second half they'd overturned the 9-point deficit. Hamish Watson's tip tackle, he is lucky to not get carded. Here is the second disallowed try. Going back, Colby knocking the ball on in the air. Foul, taking what's possibly one of the slowest penalty kicks of all time, rightly so. And the final play of the game. Here's a lot of very impressive defence for the last minute of a game. Good line speed, as the Lions are maintained throughout the tour. So they have the formation, and as you watch the players in the line, they're not all looking inwards towards the scrum half and the ruck. They move their head up and they see who's going to be running towards them, and so they're scanning and looking for runners, and that they're in the correct position. And as we've seen, the Lions sometimes get caught out by the wider forwards taking the ball up. Here the Lions forwards have fanned a lot further across the pitch. And here's man of the match, Itoje, stealing the ball for the final time. And as we watch the Lions celebrate, I think for the entire game there was a lot of inaccuracy within the Lions, especially as soon as they tried to move it out to the backs. There was a lot of plays stopped early out there, though a lot of that I think was caused by the quality of the Springboks defence. The Lions didn't quite figure out a way of how to beat that blitz defence, whether they were going to try and get outside it quickly. They never really tried much about kicking behind it. Defensively, the Lions were very strong. They were only let down by quite a lot of penalties, and their attacking inaccuracies caused quite a few of the Springboks opportunities. There's a few changes possibly needed for next week to tighten that up.